running, you've dynoed it, you're having fun, maybe you got a boost controller on it, and now you're looking to do some upgrades. Some good upgrades to do on this engine. I mean, if you want to take it back to the very beginning when the motor's out of the car and you're looking for maximum horsepower, the best thing to do is if you can upgrade your piston and rod setup while you have the engine open. That's a good option right there, because the piston and rod setup on this motor, they say that rods will start bending at around 400 horsepower. So right now I'm sitting at about 340, which if you run the calculation is almost putting me at 400 at the wheels if I'm really getting on it. So I'm at the edge with this motor with the stock bottom end. So that'd be a good upgrade. Another upgrade that'd be very good that I ended up doing for this car that ended up giving some life, because the first time I dynoed this car, I did dyno it with this upgrade already on the car, and that's stage 1 BC cams. And those drop right in. The only thing you need to do is you need to take the trigger tooth off of the stock cam, and you need to get it installed onto the BC cam, because the BC cam, it's for a Gen 3 3S GTE, which has a distributor. This car doesn't have a distributor. It has a cam and crank sensor and coil on plug. So you'll need to get that tooth on there and make sure that the timing's right. The tooth needs to be in the exact location. I took it to a machine shop because I didn't trust messing this up. So I wanted to make sure that I got this right. So definitely a good upgrade to have. Another upgrade that's also good that I ended up doing on this car is an aftermarket ECU. The reason why I did an aftermarket ECU is it gave me the ability to dial in the timing a little bit more, get a little bit more power out of the car. And then also too, I'm running E85 on this car, I have the ability to do flex fuel. So this car now runs about 300 horsepower on 91 octane, and it runs 340 horsepower on E85. And getting back to when I was talking about that piston setup, when I was getting this car tuned and we were running on E85, we had more room to grow. There was still plenty of boost. The car hadn't run out of life. It was still going. I had just reached the limit of this setup. So had I not reached the limit of this setup with the bottom end and the transmission, I probably could have pushed this and got close to 500 horsepower just with the forged rods and pistons. So definitely another good upgrade. Another upgrade that can happen, you don't even need to have an aftermarket ECU to do this, is you can get the turbo, the actual CT16 turbo upgraded to, or CT15 turbo upgraded to a CT16, which is the best people to go through for this is ATS Racing, which is who I did. There's a couple other jokers out there trying to advertise that they do it. I hear that all they do is end up messing up your turbo, which you don't want. So I would recommend going with them. You send your turbo off to them, and since the CT15 has the exhaust manifold and the turbo cartridge all in one, you're gonna remove the whole thing from the car, and you're gonna take the cartridge out, and you're gonna send the cartridge to them. And they will take a couple weeks, they will upgrade it, and they will send it back to you. And when they send it back to you, you'll now have a billet wheel turbo that'll allow more air to flow, but you won't lose much boost response off of it. I did that as a good upgrade, and that alone I think added about another 30-40 horsepower before we even started tuning, which was amazing. And I think even on the stock ECU you'll see those same numbers. So definitely another good upgrade to have. So guys, here's my gauge setup. Now like I said, I would recommend that you get a gauge, either 1 or 2 like this. This one actually measures both my boost and vacuum as well as my AFRs. And this gauge, I believe, this setup right here, I would believe is almost a minimum. Even if you're running on the stock ECU, it'll tell you if anything's running lean or anything's kind of out of whack there. Also too, I have a oil pressure gauge as well. So just to keep an eye on your oil pressure, if that thing starts getting too low, a good reason to shut off the car. Make sure you don't destroy anything on the internals. And then finally, I ended up putting this in because I just liked it. And so here I have a coolant temp on top, oil temp on the bottom. Really, you could get by with just a coolant temp one. This one just really just kind of adds a little bit more looking into what's going on with the car. But you don't really need it. The best thing about having a temp gauge like this is that the factory one over here, it doesn't tell you much. It sits at the halfway point for most times, and then when it finally starts rising, you're getting to the point where it's too late really to do anything.
God, you are so hot. At least with this one, it gives you an idea of what's going on with the car. And it also gives you an idea that when the car is cold, not to get on it and to wait until the car warms up and gets up to probably, you want to be at least 160, 170 before you even really start getting on it, so that the oil can warm up, everything can kind of get moving around, because you definitely don't want to be boosting a cold car. But if you have a aftermarket ECU, there's also safety features that you can put in place that will hold the boost back and make sure that the boost doesn't creep up too high, or at least limit it until the car is at a certain temp. So these are my gauges. I would definitely suggest that you have some type of gauge set up. I'm running a low-tech A-pillar setup, but there's so many different ways you can run this. I've seen guys put them up here on the dash. I've seen guys, see, I've got my convertible set up here, but if you don't have a convertible need right here, I've seen guys put gauges 1 or 2 into here and build something there. There's plenty of places where you can put these gauges. It's just a matter of being creative and figuring out what works for you.
And guys, one last thing that you're gonna need, and this is a definite must, is you're gonna need to get a Walbro 255 fuel pump. Reason why? You're now running 550cc injectors on this car. This car is boosted. It needs more fuel. It's going to need a lot more fuel, and the stock one is not going to hold up, because I believe from the factory, the 5SFE, they're, I believe, either 225 or 235cc injectors. So pretty much about half the size, half the fuel that's going to be needed for this setup right here. So definitely get a bigger fuel pump. I've seen guys run without that fuel pump and just stick with the stock fuel pump, but to me, you're just kind of playing with fire. Why not just get a better fuel pump right out the jump and just get that going? And it's very easy to install this fuel pump.
So installing this fuel pump is very easy. As you can see, I'm back here in the back seat. What you're gonna do is right here, you're gonna pop this up. This is your back seat. It has a clip here and a clip over there. You're gonna pop it out, slide it out, and your fuel pump sits right in here. And so what you're gonna do is you're gonna unbolt it, gives you access to the tank, pull it out, and then it's just a matter of plug and play at that point of unhooking the old factory fuel pump and putting the new one in.
So that's how to swap a 3S GTE into a 94 97 Toyota Celica. Very easy setup. Motor feels like it belongs in the car. It's going to be a great drive for a front wheel drive car. Out the bat, getting anywhere from 190 to 250 horsepower, depending on where you want to put that boost at. You're definitely sitting at really good. You're at FRS levels, and you're not at FRS cost. And people might laugh, but I definitely am happy when I'm able to take this car out and spank cars that are a little bit more expensive than mine, a little bit newer than mine, and I'm a front wheel drive, old 20 some odd year car. So I hope you guys like this. Like, comment, subscribe. Talk to you guys in another one.
One last thing before I wrap it up, guys. Just wanted to lay out the cost of a basic 3S GTE build for 250, 260 horsepower, 14 PSI, running 91 octane. Lays out everything you guys need, everything I talked about over these last few videos. Total ends up $3,857. Talk to you guys later. Hope you enjoyed the video.